Check.
First we need to go to Google Meet, I think, save something over the
What
data
is this, man? How many times to continue to YouTube sign in? Now what I have to do?
Now,
Done. Something is happening here. Yes. Thank you. Excellent connection.
yeah.
Something happened. Suman, go open and see. Now what you're seeing? Oh God, Google Meet. Wait. Google Meet. From NSI Google Meet, no? Google. No. Why Google Meet? Google Meet. Yeah, okay. AiN series, yes. What? Allow while visiting the site. Join anyway. Suman, now what you can see? Huh? One minute. Again, enter password. It is showing live, Suman. Okay, so now what should I do? You want me to share screen? Okay. What you can see? I shared. I share the desktop. Just refresh your page. Because it's showing me YouTube live control panel. And it's showing me a chat also. Hey, what's your name? Okay, now see, Suman. Something or the other I'm trying over here. Which window to capture? What you can see? wait. No one else is there. Yeah. What you can see now? Now you can see NSI Goa. That means you are able to see. 1 minute. Wait. Now what? Now what you can see? No, nothing more. What? I have shared one PowerPoint presentation that you cannot see. What? That page you could see. Okay, wait. Windows. Now what you can see? Now nothing. दीपक तुम्ही असा कॅन्टीनान कॉफी दिवपाक शकता प्लीज म्हाका 2 ओके या थँक्यू see what I can see Suman come here see she's got stress this is what it's showing me
Why it is moving same thing at home?
What?
You are moving this way. It is going. Our YouTube, no, it is showing that option is there. How we have zooming from sideways, top way, down left way. Selecting the particular area.
no it just came over there
That window capture one here selected.
so here what did I, where is that not here window capture so
And
which window capture
10 minutes is only.
yeah
Oh.
this one only and this is this which is showing
Yeah, excellent.
then I don't know
Then
select stream
select.
oh same
Correct.
so I don't know how this is coming and what this is
Go on
coming
Meet.
on what
Meet. Google Meet. That is Meet itself. This is there.
see now if I say
Share.
okay say if I'm sharing this share
This page we have.
yeah no it is showing that it is streaming Suman because it is showing 9 minutes now and 31 seconds in OBS and the title is showing as AiN series now I don't know yeah on Windows. No, over here you're saying. See, yeah.
These options were there, no add window capture also. So we can check out for any other option because that whatever you are
So
showing,
how to-
it's getting blurred.
Yeah. So how how
Add and audio input capture or output capture.
media source?
Yeah, we check out. Then we can take out also, delete also that.
Yeah. Media source.
Window projector, full screen projector. Add window capture now again
Where?
here. Window capture 2.
AiN series. No, Meet. Google Meet. Again.
Okay, we will just try.
Now 2 captures are come.
That one we can delete.
How do you
This
delete
is
this?
second one which we have created.
How do you delete? Press this, delete.
We have deleted the reset. Now you check out. It is going out of this. It is not in the center.
So why is that?
This year adjustment we can do. Take it in the center. Shift go in.
Now you go and see. No, that is okay, Suman. But my thing is, again, you cannot see this. What I'm Sheen's screen sharing. This is Google Meet. Okay, now Sumana, I'm going to share another PowerPoint. You see whether you are able to see this, okay? What can you see now? What can you see now? Huh? Now see what you can see. Wait for some time. There's a lag. Now what you can see? Still no? Refresh. Is you, madam? Okay, wait, I can join, no? From YouTube on my phone. Where she has sent it on. I can see a blank screen. Why am I seeing a blank screen? No. Come here, Suman, I can see. But I'm not able to see the presentation. See, come here.
What you can
See, you can hear me also. Suman? So? So? You can hear, no?
So your mic is on this
Yes,
meet.
yes. So why am I seeing this blank screen? This is the screen you're supposed to see.
Yeah, so voice is this thing and the screen is not visible.
What to do, Suman? How to change the screen now? Why screen is not visible? Screen, tell us how to be visible. Share and see. Screen, tell us how to be visible. Hello. I'm in college only, Zoe. I'll come home late today. Okay, bye. Okay, when I I'm admitting people, huh? Now I can see the screen. I can see P. Huh? On YouTube. What? Now you concentrate on your introductions only. You don't worry. See, YouTube is showing P. Yeah. But I don't know if you've tried sharing anything. So show me, share that then. Here, this is audio is good.
Ma'am, good afternoon.
For the camera. See again. Huh? What happened? No, but see again, it is showing that I'm presenting, no, Suman. Now see YouTube, but that screen is not visible. I don't know why. Oh, it came, it came, it came. See? YouTube. No. दीपक सांग हां घेऊन येता कप हांगा आसा दीपक ओके asking still for admit. You didn't change the settings on Google Meet to allow all. No, not public event. You have to change the settings on Google Meet to admit all without asking. Anyway, I'll do when it keeps coming then. Some Dr. Shukrani has joined. No. How you can see? What you can see? That's maybe because of yours. Suman, check yours. You can see that? I can see clear, Suman. I can see clear. The settings are not changed. Or what? Huh? Yeah. So to take the picture, you're saying? Now? Later. Yeah. Charlotte Fasho and all want to join. What? I hope she reminded her, I know. Harsha herself has not joined.
Hi, everyone. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Prashanta.
All the best. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are with, there is some technical issue. We will start in another 5 minutes.
Good evening, Ranjani. Welcome on board. Hi, Varsha. Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 yes.
Hi, Ranjani. Sheila Krishnaswamy here.
Oh, so sweet, ma'am. Hi. So nice of you to join.
Hi. Not at all a pleasure. It's just that I'm on the move, so I don't know when I lose the signal,
Oh,
but I'll be here as long as I can.
okay. Thank you.
As of now, we have only very few participants, around 2 to 3. So shall we wait?
It's showing 12 people here. Are there really 12 people or? I can see 12, 13 people in the list.
We can start in another 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Ranjani?
Yeah, okay.
Dr. Ranjani ma'am, can you please share your screen?
Sure. You want me to share the presentation right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Second. This is the first time I'm doing via Google Meet. How do I go to slide share here?
There is one option on its screening.
Sorry?
That screening option comes, that share screen option will be
To avoid
on
an
that
infinity method,
bottom
don't
part.
share your entire screen or browser window. Share just a tab or a different window.
No, a different window. Just
Yeah, why it's
actually,
not coming?
we can see your this
Okay.
presentation.
I'm seeing why it's not. I want to put it to slideshow in a Zoom. Generally, the slideshow should come. Is it visible, slideshow?
Yeah.
It's visible as slideshow?
As of now, we can't see on anything on the screen. You need to do normally how we present, so just do that slideshow.
That's what I'm doing, girl. Slideshow is what I'm doing, but this is in Google Meet, so it becomes a little. I'm not able to go to slideshow in Google Meet. That's the issue. And if I do slideshow, then I can't come back to. So it's coming to here. Then after this, what? How do I go to slideshow from here is where I'm stuck.
Normal only, ma'am, you start with that your presentation. If it appears, then background your Google Meet will also be open.
You can't see what I'm sharing right now?
We can.
We can see.
You can, right? No, I'm trying to make it into presentation mode. That's not happening for me. I don't know why.
There is an option, ma'am, down here, bottom, the right side.
No,
There
it's
is
not.
a screen,
It's not.
just bottom.
That's I know, Ma. That happens for me. That happens when you're doing a Zoom. For me in Google, it's not. I'm not able to do that. That's the problem.
Press F5, someone.
Yeah, that was a wrong instruction. The F5 took me out of the call only. Sorry, I guess I'll have to just do it this way itself then. None of you guys know how do you do full screen here?
Just present the screen, Ranju.
I have presented the screen, Varsha. It's just not going to slideshow. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
You will not be able to. You'll have to keep moving it. Okay, I'm on the phone. Otherwise, I would have told you how this to be done. But just give me a sec.
Anyway, it's not allowing me to do this. I don't know why.
Yeah. Suman, meanwhile, you can start with.
Good afternoon, everyone. I Miss Mohan Kosavi, Assistant Professor of Goa College of Home Science, Assistant Professor at Goa College of Home Science, Kampal, Panchi, Goa, and also a local executive member of Nutrition Society of India, Goa chapter. On behalf of Principal of Goa College of Home Science, Dr. Mahesh Pai, I welcome you all for this Advances in Nutrition series, Part 3. Let us know about our newly formed NSI Goa chapter. So that is headed by our convener, Assistant Professor, Ms. Varsha Naik. And today's session is organized by Goa College of Home Science and Nutrition Society of India Goa chapter in association with the club G100 Goa, headed by Ms. Pallavi Sargavkar and forwarding city chair, Assistant Professor Ms. Varsha Naik. Let us know also about that our AiN series. So AiN series, it unites experts in dietetics, nutrition, medicine, research, food science, and policy making to address key challenges in nutrition awareness and informed decision making that highlights on advancement in nutrition sciences, growth monitoring, and food composition, supporting activities like dietary planning, nutrition labeling, disease monitoring, nutrition interventions, and environmental impact assessments. So for this today's session of AIN series part 3, we have with us our esteemed speaker, Dr. Ranjani Harish. So she is a certified diabetic educator, senior scientist and head of the Department of Preventive and Digital Health. I request Ms. Prashanta Naik, dietitian and member of NSI Goa chapter, to introduce our today's guest speaker.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Prashant.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining today's session. We have an exciting discussion ahead on how fit are we Indians. To guide us through this, we have an expert joining us. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ranjani Harish. Dr. Ranjani Harish is a senior scientist and head at Department of Preventive and Digital Health Research, Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, and Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialities Center, Chennai. She is an investigator involved in design and execution of several real-world interventions in primary prevention of diabetes and obesity at school, home, and worksite settings. Her research interests include translational research, implementational science, digital health with focus on CVD risk reduction. She is alumna of World Heart Federation's Salim Yusuf's Young Emerging Leader Fellowship Cohort 2022 and most recently the Cambridge Diabetes Seminar Cohort 2024. She is selected for NIH Fogarty Fellowship Program on mHealth at the Global mHealth Research Training Institute, Fogarty International Center, Bethesda, USA in 2016. She is one of 30 from 350 global applicants. She has published 95 scientific articles, 12 book chapters, and several lay press articles in magazines and papers, and delivered over 100 plus public health talks. Her current projects include mobile health in prevention of diabetes and CVD risk reduction, and Tandav, that is dance plus HIIT intervention for adolescent girls and women. Her completed projects include NHLBI worksite-based lifestyle intervention called India Works for CVD and diabetes prevention, implemented across 10 worksites in India, ICMR-funded studies on yoga for health in adults and adolescents, built environment and lifestyle intervention to improve physical activity and fitness in adolescent girls and women. She has life membership of IDA, NSI, RSSBI, IDF, ISPE, ISPED. She is reviewer for several national and international journals, ICMR grants, and World Diabetes Congress. Without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Ranjani Harish. Before Dr.
Shall I go ahead and just share now? Because I'm having a major issue with moving my slides. I don't understand why this is happening. Yeah. Once I share, I'm not able to move the slides. What do I do is my question. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening.
Just hold on. Just hold on.
Somebody said Fi removes you from the call. So I just shared my presentation. I'm trying to go to slideshow mode, but it's not happening. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi,
How are you?
Hi,
Long time.
Ranjani, can you try using the cursor keys up and down?
That's what I'm doing. It's not moving.
The buttons on the keyboard, page up, page down.
Yeah. I'm not able
working?
to just, the moment I share my screen, I'm not even able to go to the slideshow. Nothing is working. I'm clicking on all things. Nothing is working. I don't know why.
Okay. Can
That's
you
when
share your presentation
Yeah,
with
that
one
would
of
be
us?
best. Yeah, who
Yeah.
could I send it to? That would be faster. Who can share
Varsha?
it?
You have Varsha's
Email ID. Yeah, she sent me
Yes.
the email, so I can do that.
Yeah.
I think that's the best option right now. Varsha, shall I just send it to you? Hello, Varsha. Is there any other email ID? Sorry, guys.
Ranjani, I've just in the chat box, I've just put down my email address. You can send it to me.
Sure. I just sent it to you, Cheryl.
Checking.
Hopefully this should work.
Waiting for it to drop in.
Yeah, it's a bit It has a lot of pictures, so that's why. Thank you.
Is it visible full screen?
No, it's not coming full screen. Yeah, now it's coming.
Share the entire.
Yeah, finally it came. Thank you.
You'll have to just let me
I'll
know
just
when
check the
to
next.
shift on to the next slide.
Sure,
yeah?
sure, Cheryl. Thanks. We can move on. We're already running a bit late. So thanks, Cheryl. And thank you, Varsha, and the team of NSI Goa for inviting me. I know you all speak more on nutrition, and I'm going to be speaking on physical activity. But basically, I work in the field of lifestyle. And so we work specifically. I thought there's a lot of people speaking on nutrition per se. But as nutritionists and public health officials, people working in the field of public health, you should have equal importance also given to physical activity, and that's why I'm going to be speaking about. Varsha, can you mute it,
There are
Varsha?
multiple devices on of yours, so there's a
No,
lot of
no,
echo happening.
mine is not. It's not from mine.
No?
I have only one device on. It's yours. Mute yours, no, Varsha?
No, no.
Yeah, it's gone. That's why it's yours. So mine, there's only one device, so not an issue from my side. Okay, so going ahead on physical activity is what I'm going to be speaking on, but also I'm representing here Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center and Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center is actually a tertiary care diabetes hospital. We have 50 clinics around India, and Dr. Mohan leads the center. But we also, the research arm of this hospital is called Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. I've been here now for 18 years and been working. We start with epidemiology, and now I'm primarily working in the field of preventive health, which translates also into digital health. So let's go ahead, Cheryl. Next one, because I'll be presenting a lot of research data. I'm a scientist, basically working on funding. Based on funding, we come up with studies, and then we run these studies. Actually, we don't have other organizations doing it for us. I have a team, and that we have multiple teams who do these studies for us, and we run them together, and then we collect the data, and then we publish it. So this is what I'm presenting today is largely the data that we have done, the work that we do in India, and even with collaboration with universities abroad. So ICMR INDIAB study is one of the largest study to speak on diabetes. It's a huge data of over 1 lakh Indians, and we talk about diabetes, pre-diabetes, hypertension. We have a lot of data coming out of this, and every second day we have a paper coming out from this study because it's pan-India, and it is across states and union territories. Next slide, please. One of the biggest, if you want any prevalence rates of any of the lifestyle diseases associated with diabetes or hypertension, everything, you have a lot of data coming from INDAP, and it's one of the latest work. So this is the right reference to use in terms of millions. If you understand the projections in terms of millions, we have 101 million people with diabetes, 136 million people with pre-diabetes, 315 million people with hypertension, which means increased blood pressure, systolic, diastolic, basically they're over normal. So they're all having abnormal blood pressure values. Then you have generalized obesity, which is based on your BMI. And for Indians, it's not 25 and 30. We say 23 and above is overweight and 25 and above is obesity, because I'm sure you all would have heard about the thin fat Indians and the lean fat Indians, due to which we see that a lot of these risk factors of, especially the CVD risk factors, start setting in even at lower BMIs. So generalized obesity, we have 254 million people with generalized obesity. Then we have 351 million people with abdominal obesity. And that's a better marker, honestly, than even BMI in Indians, because it measures your visceral fat. And it's a very easier method than even BMI, where you just take a waist circumference of the person and you kind of know. And the cutoffs for Indians are 80 centimeters and above for women is abdominal obesity, and 90 centimeters and above is for men. So that's the basis for
Ranju, just a sec. There's some technical issue. Just hold on.
I said she has a slide deck, so.
There is some technical issue. We will sort out and let's
Yeah, the screen has started. Yeah. Yes, Ranju.
Do it full screen, no? And move the slide. It's not in full screen. Yeah. So as I was ending with hypercholesterolemia is abnormal cholesterol values. Can you go to the next slide? So let's jump straight into the physical activity and inactivity status in adults first, and then I'll come to children, and how this plays a role in leading to higher numbers, all these millions that you see, how physical activity or inactivity plays a role towards these lifestyle diseases is what I'm primarily going to speak about. And that's why I've written How Fit Are We Indians? Next slide, please. So from the same ICMR and diet study, I'll be showing you some data, but just basic, epidemiological transitions that has happened in India and generally in South Asia is how, earlier we used to plow the fields. Now you have tractors. So you would think that rural people, everyone says, oh, in rural, there's a lot of physical activity. But no, even there, tractors have set in and left. Everything has become mechanized, due to which physical inactivity is happening even in the rural areas. Then initially people used to walk a lot. There were buses, there were trains. But now we see our streets are only flooded with cars and autos and things like that. Similarly, there was more manual labor, as in sense it's just carrying weights or carrying some water or things like that. But a simple, just we always show it as a caricature. But the fact is, when in our olden days we had fat TVs and so we were thin. But nowadays we have the slimmer the TV, the richer we are. And obviously then we are the repercussion there is also that we're leading a sedentary lifestyle, due to which the person is fatter, while as the TV has become thinner. Next slide, please. So from the same, as I said, from ICMR and diet study, the data on physical activity and activity patterns is what I'd like to show you first. Next slide. So if you look at the pattern across 31 states and including also some union territories, we see that the green stands for rural, and red stats for urban. Obviously, it's not a surprise that the urban people are more inactive than rural, but look at the numbers in the rural also. We have 55% people inactive in the rural, whereas we have 72% inactive in the urban, and then overall we have around 61% who are inactive. Similarly, if you look at highly active, we're talking about vigorous activity. So that's like literally very, very dismal, where they're doing regular physical activity too. The activity level, similarly, obviously in proportion to that, is much, much lower than what you would see in US or UK or any European country. Next slide, please. So also want to get at this point of time to your notice that the physical activity recommendations itself have changed over time. It's no longer 150 minutes per week. WHO in 2022 passed out this as per age group. And for children, it always was 60 minutes a day. That is 1 hour a day is what the children and adolescents are supposed to be doing leisure time physicality. What do you mean by leisure time physicality? So it's not about walking and all that is extra. That needs to be done too. But when we talk about physical activity recommendation, or if we ask if people have met physical activity recommendation, if there's something, your physical activity throughout the day is kind of divided into different domains. There's occupational physical activity, people who are working, say, in a construction site or is in a has a blue collar job and things like that. In a manufacturing unit will be generally, if you're a shop floor worker, you will be walking more, you'll be doing more activity. Whereas jobs like ours, mostly it's a sedentary job. And so we are occupational physical activity will be much less unless you're making the effort to take steps or you're walking around in the university or things like that. Similarly, there is after that travel, there's a travel domain physical activity where are you just getting out of your house or literally from the garage, sitting in the car and coming straight to the university in the car and then walking, then there's hardly minimal physical activity, right? Whereas there are people who still walk to the bus stand, then take a bus, then maybe take a train and then walk around. So that's called travel domain physical activity. And then, of course, there are other sedentary activity here and there, at home. But what's most important is leisure time physical activity. There is always a set of few hours, which is leisure time. And we say that 1 hour in your leisure time, instead of scrolling on Instagram or looking at your phone or watching a movie, watching a TV, maybe even reading books or stitching and things, 1 hour is what we need to dedicate to actual moderate to vigorous physical activity. The type of activity is your choice. There is, of course, you have to mix it up, aerobic and non-aerobic. But then it's very, very important that we do 1 hour per day and then have your warm-ups and cool downs. All this has become very important. And now they expect us to do, if you have to meet 300 minutes a week, so it's no longer 45 minutes, 3 days a week. You have to be doing 5 to 6 days a week. Only then you're going to be reaching those. For metabolic benefit, 300 minutes is required, is what is established now through the research done. 150 minutes is just the minimal you should be doing. 300 is the maximum. And to that, we need to add weight training at least twice a week. And this is not exclusive for men. It's also for women. It's very, very important. As we age, our bones are growing weaker. We are having a lot of muscle wasting, sarcopenia sets in. So for this, we need to start doing some kind of resistance training, weight training. It doesn't build our muscle. It actually makes our muscle healthy. We should develop the muscle first. The fat gets converted to the muscle and we have more toned bodies, and moreover, we have stronger bodies. And that's why weight training is very, very important even in women. Next slide, please. So when we look at leisure time physical activity that I just explained, we're abysmally lazy country. Okay, only 10% of Indians overall do any kind of leisure time physical activity. So we're very, very far longer from women weight training. Of course, we're seeing this big culture among gyms and people working out and all that, but that's a more very, very elitist kind of an urban group who's doing it. And even those who do it, we all know the story. It's not regular. It's not consistent. So we are trying to push people to do physical activity, which is regular and consistent, so that this 10%, actually starts improving. And we don't have to stay at this kind of statistics where people are just not exercising or doing any kind of physical activity. We're not even talking about going to the gym and lifting weights or anything, but any kind, even that 1 hour of walking becomes very, very important. Next. So what do we do about it? So for this, I'll come to our intervention study. Next slide, please. So this was DCLIP. This was Diabetes Community Lifestyle Improvement Program. This is one of the first studies I led here at MDRF. And this was a lifestyle intervention trial. And we did it in collaboration with my colleagues at Emory University. Dr. Venkatnarayan was the lead there, along with Dr. Mohan here, my colleague here, Anjana, and my team here, along with Lisa and Mary Beth at Emory. It was a very nice collaborative work where we looked there's something called the Diabetes Prevention Program, which is a huge program done across the United States. We took up those lessons plans, adapted to the Indianized the version, and there are 16 lessons, they're behavioral lesson plans, where we got people, we screened 20,000 people around Chennai, got them to our center, 1,500, we did OGTTs on them, and all the people who had pre-diabetes were included in the study. And in them, we divided them, it was an RCT, so we randomized control trial. So we took intervention and control group people. Intervention group people came to us, to our center. We had these group lessons where we taught them behavioral change through nutrition lessons and actually made them do 45 minutes of physical activity with us. Next slide, please. And with that, we found a great, so this is what the study was about. We gave metformin to people because that time the recommendation was to add metformin if they were IFG, impaired fasting glucose plus IGT, which is impaired glucose tolerance, after 4 to 6 months. Only then they were given, otherwise lifestyle is the base always that you start. Next slide, please. And so we had our health coaches. I had trained a bunch of people who would take these lessons plans. So this is the activity actually happening at our center. You can see somebody taking, the nutrition coach taking the nutrition behavioral lesson plans. And then we had physical activity trainers making these people do physical activity. And look at them, they're wearing saris, salwar kameezes. They used to come from work directly and do it. And as a group class, it became very, very interesting. We also got in lay ambassadors or community volunteers who would help assist these classes. And these are typically family people. That is somebody from those own people would come with a family who had interest in fitness, and they would take up these classes along with us. So this gave a good sustainability, and it became a good model for people to replicate these classes. Next slide, please. And this is how the exercise classes were happening. Next. So with this, what we found out, next slide, we found a good 32% risk reduction in diabetes. And among overweight and obese people, if you see people who were actually obese, we almost found a 50% risk reduction in diabetes. That is, people remember when we say risk reduction, people who had pre-diabetes, we prevented them from getting diabetes. And, though DPP aimed for 7% weight loss, we found this happening even at 3 to 5% weight loss. And that's very, very important to know that even a little bit of weight loss among us and Indians plays a huge role in showing this kind of prevention. Next one. So what another interesting aspect that came, which was not really the aim of the study, was barriers to lifestyle change. Next slide, please. So in this, we just had, we do many tools. We do a lot of standardized tools that we use to understand various things, quality of life, depression, anxiety, and things like that. So in that, one of the things we were looking at is why people do not exercise. We both, Anjana and myself, were very keen to understand why is this seem to be a phenomenon among Indians. Next slide, please. So we came up with we all know, like, barriers of exercise. All of us in this profession know, people always quote, we ourselves give so many of these barriers. It's too hot, it's too cold, we don't have good shoes, we don't have good clothes. But these were real barriers, okay? People actually gave us, 700 people gave us these answers. What really stands out in this is the difference between men and women. What came to our attention was that the women seem to be having much more barriers than the men. So whether it's embarrassed to exercise, clothes are funny, and see, if you live in a gated complex, you'll have a swimming pool right in between. So how convenient, you have to wear a swimming dress and go. The women are not really comfortable going to that swimming pool. Then if you want to go to a gym, it's very far off. Again, there also requires a certain set of clothes and things like that. So then it started becoming expensive. Then many a times the family members are not encouraging, and the women themselves take a back seat, right? Many a times they say, no, I don't have time for this. This is not really important for me. So this is what we realize, is there are a lot of barriers to exercise, and it seemed to be more in women than to men. Compared to men. Next one. So we really thought we need to focus on women. And why women? Because all said and done, though the primary, maybe earner or the person who's earning the most in the house may be a man, but the primary caregiver is always a woman. And hence, it becomes very important, and it's high time that we get the woman at the center. She is the center of the family, but her health is more often neglected because she's looking at in-laws, she's looking at children, she has relatives, extended families, grandparents. She has a lot of people that she's looking into all the time. But what happens to her health? Who's really looking into it? Nobody is. So we need to, one of the things we learned is you have to take care of your own health as a woman. And that became very important. We felt we need to do something to ensure that their health is really, preserved, and it doesn't get worse as time passes. Next one. And again, if you compare it and then you combine it with why is it again important in terms of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, what happens is you have environmental changes, you have physical changes in the woman happening every stage of life, you have physiological changes happening, you have social norms. There are so many social norms with women, right? You can't do this, you can do this. There are so many things and terms and conditions always around them. And automatically it leads to unhealthy habits, and then it leads to a lot of psychological issues. So psychological in the terms of more stress and anxiety and depression at different stages of life, women go through a lot of these, and nobody is really, we have not yet reached that stage where people understand what these are and how these need to be addressed. And hence that's where we came up with this curated with this intervention called Tanda, which I'll come back to it later. Next slide, please. So we wanted to break that cycle, and when you break that cycle through awareness, and that's where Tandav came in. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead, please. That's not a problem. So what are the features? Again, we interviewed women and we asked them what are the features of an ideal physical activity intervention for women and girls. And this is what we found as the answer. So besides people giving barriers, we said, okay, these are your barriers. What do you want? What will make you do a physical activity regularly? And these are the answers. They told us it has to be innovative, it has to be interesting, it has to be sustainable, less time, it has to be socially acceptable, it should be done at home. I don't need to go somewhere to do this. And most importantly, most of them said, see, it has to be fun. If you want me to do this every single day of my life, it has to be fun. Next one. Next slide. Now I'll jump tracks and move to obesity and physical activity in children and adolescents, and then I'll combine them together. So coming to this issue now in the younger, okay, next slide. So I primarily work a lot with children and adolescents. Next slide, please. So I primarily work a lot with children and adolescents, and we have done the systematic review. It was a white paper for WHO, where we found that how the prevalence of obesity is increasing with time. And it's right now, which has even reached at 2020, the latest one of the reviews also talk about 24% of childhood obesity. Next slide, please. While we look at childhood obesity, we also, in the next slide, what you will see is the incidence of diabetes. And so this was just to put a small thing. I'm assuming that a lot of students or professors here who are interested in doing research, this is a follow-up study. So what we had done, we had Orange as a study which would look at obesity, which moved down to look also at prevalence of diabetes and pre-diabetes in children and adolescents from 5 years to 17 years. That was Orange phase 1. And at that time, we just went on to see prevalence and see, type 2 diabetes mainly, how many children and adolescents really have it. And at that time, it was like 0.3% of diabetes, which we found. Basically, we found 4 or 3 people who had, when we screened them, had type 2 diabetes. We had, of course, ruled out it was not type 1 and it was all type 2 and was typically related to obesity. After a 10-year, we went back to those same children, especially the ones who had normal glucose tolerance and pre-diabetes, to see what's their glucose status. That's a longitudinal follow-up study. And this is a very difficult study to do, to go back searching for those children. Imagine who were between 5 and 17 were now anywhere between 16 and 25. Most of them had moved for universities, for college, to find them and then again do an OGTT and screen them. It was difficult. So our numbers did come down to 811, but yet, if you see what we found, that out of the 800 individuals, 11 individuals who had normal glucose tolerance at baseline, 115 developed dysglycemia. If you look at a crude incidence, that's almost 13.5%. When we had done it at Orange phase 1, the prevalence was 3.5% of dysglycemia. Dysglycemia is pre-diabetes and diabetes together. And as I said, diabetes, which is 0.3%. But in a 10-year, and on average, it was actually a 7-year follow-up, we found almost 13.5%, close to 14% who had turned dysglycemic. That shows the epidemiological transition and how with time, with your lifestyle factors, how this same disease, which was not much before, in 10-year period, it has changed. Next slide, please. So again, coming back to physical activity and looking at it from that standpoint. Next slide, please. So again, in this orange study, we looked at how many people, what were whether people, children had PT. We did a school survey also. So in that, we seen that obviously there was PT happening in every school. So if you see having PT class in school, almost 85% kids said, yes, we have PT class in school. But we all know, most of us are at the stage where we have kids, and we all know what happens at PT class in school, right? It's generally taken up to finish the portion or do any other extracurricular activity, but PT. And in that also we found, even in the school, if you see, the girls typically after, as they turn adolescent, are sitting, the boys are still the ones who are little playing. When you come to 1 hour per day, remember I said 60 minutes is the recommendation for children and adolescents. It is almost, again, see the divide between the boy and girl. It's not that the boys also doing great, but the boys were still doing, almost double of what the girls are doing outside. Sedentarism, obviously, you can't take in children because they're sitting almost most of the time in the class itself. So it was also high. But what was important to note was the 1 hour that they do outside. Again, it's very, very less. Next slide, please. With this, we did this study called Be Active India, because those are all reported, right? Reported sedentary time, reported physical activity. Here, what we did is we actually put accelerometries. They are the ones which actually measure a person's physical activity. We mounted that in children, and we seen how much physical activity they could really happening. So reporting is one through a survey, but this we could take it directly. It was an objective measurement. Next one, please. In this, besides the physical activity, we also look at the built environment. And when I say built environment, it is, how close the parks are, how close are the hotels, how close are the small shops, how much you have to walk to the bus stand. These were the kind of questions. It was collaborative work, and I'll speak about it next in the next slide. But look at the physical activity findings in the study. So you would think that your child is doing a lot of activity in school or outside, but what we found in school hours, look at just the minutes. The boys were doing just 15 minutes. The girls were doing 7 minutes precisely. Okay, this is what the accelerometer reading is. So it's not something someone has just told us. We used to take down, you can download the information from there. So overall, during school, the kids were hardly moving. So there are most of these schools have lifts nowadays. They're hardly walking up and down the stairs. So all this together, the actual movement recorded was only so much. Whereas overall, if you're looking at moderate to vigorous physical activity, boys were doing 30 minutes, girls were doing around 18 minutes. And overall, they seem to be doing just, half of what they're supposed to be doing. Next slide, please. With this, we actually published this paper last year in ISBNPA. It's called, this was a multi-country study. So India, we were doing the India component, and it was a 14-country study. And this is one of the first studies to actually give you objective, subjective measurement on sedentary time. We all talk about our kids being a lot on social media and things like that. This is the first paper to show how social media was related to it. Next slide. I've given it to you in points. It's a very interesting study, and if you get a chance, do look it up and read it up. And we found that across countries, how obviously, the more developed countries, they were higher than, those were the countries you would expect. There is more walkability. There are better streets. And especially in Europe, we know it is a country where it encourages cycling and walking and things like that. But the more populous countries has lesser of the space, and hence higher the residential density and things like that, lower is the physical activity. Similarly, access to parks and transit stops is, connecting to bus stands. It is due to security and safety reasons in the populous countries, it's much lesser. Whereas in European countries and even in the US, children were transporting or cycling and going like that to school by themselves. Next one. Coming to sedentary behavior. In India, we found 3 to 4 hours, but what we found overall, it is much higher in the developing nation, in the developed nations than the developing nation. We found almost 10 hours. Children can spend 8 to 10 hours on social media, on those different accounts. It's not necessarily Instagram, whatever those apps are, they are using that much of their time. So be aware and understand that this is something that we really need to address. If you're saying sitting is the new smoking, imagine our children are starting how young. So in India, we would say when you split by transport related time, sedentary time and screen time, you would think 4 hours is much lesser. But believe me, this is just going to change, because if you see kids who have now 1 year, 2 years, they're starting that young. So we're still talking about just adolescents. So imagine how much time they're accruing looking at just being hooked on to a screen. Next one, please. Similarly, as I said, one of the first studies to show just possessing a social media account directly correlated to sedentary time. So if you have not just an Insta account, a Facebook account, imagine, and nowadays you have so many, you have Snapchat, you have so many accounts. So if the more the accounts they have, the more they are going to be sedentary. And of course, if you have electronic devices in the child's bedroom, that's also correlated to sedentary time. So what are the policy changes that we really recommend here is, of course, in education, though we are going digital in a big way, so it's like a two-edged sword, right? We want to go digital, that's the way to go forward. But how do you restrain your child from getting so digitized also? So a little bit of awareness, community, there has to be, it says 2 to 3 hours sedentary time, the screen time has to be restricted. And if you don't restrict that, it's going to be an issue, especially with children owning phones much earlier in life. You need to have those app control, parental control, so that they are not going beyond a time. And of course, the best way is to promote physical activity so that you have some community engagement, you have some urban planning. Everyone together should have some fun. If the mother, you sit in the house most of the time, the mother, father, the children, everyone in the house is looking at their phone and sitting. How much are we doing community activities or things together? And that's where we are coming from. So these kind of social and cultural shifts are very, very important. And participation of girl child in a lot of things has to be still encouraged. Next one, please. So yeah, next, please. Just briefly go through the intervention studies. Next slide. These are all published data. I put this up. You can always read it up. This was one we did in 2,000 children. And what we did is just 5 lesson plans, 5 months activity. Each out of that, there were 4 were majorly nutrition focused. We did the signal game, the snake and ladder game, and then a quiz and some role playing. And there was only 1 on physical activity the last months, where we made the child run without their bag. And then they would take their school bag and run. And we would say the school bag is your weight. So how does your speed decrease when you do it? So these are simple things for the child to understand better. Next slide. So again, when you do intervention work, I would just like to touch on this because it's one of my favorite topics, is please ensure you do qualitative work too. Quantitative studies can only give you so much data. Especially if you're doing an intervention and you want to see the effect of something that you've done, just ensure that you're doing qualitative work. You need to get trained, of course. It's not a yes, no kind of thing. It needs to get a bit of training. But qualitative work gives you a lot of insights. So one of the nice things that I found from this study was we did the study in government and private schools. What we found is, not to say that people are following everything in nutrition, of course, but the kids seem to be more aware about nutrition, about healthy eating, about what is junk food. All this, the children actually seem to be aware. But what they didn't seem to be aware is how physical activity benefits them, how sedentary activity is not benefiting them, and what are the things they need to do for that. So one of the good things that came out of this is, yes, we talk a lot on nutrition, we talk a lot on this, but please ensure that you also include physical activity and give it enough importance, because the children didn't seem to know much about it. Next slide, please. Another study that we did, it was an ICMR funded study where we looked at yoga in school children. A lot of people are trying it for adults, but we really wanted to look at it and look at the children age group we did. It was 8th, 9th, 10th kids. And we did in Delhi and with AIMS Delhi, and we ran it in Chennai. Again, we did it in government and private schools. And at that time, we did it in the CBSE schools. There was a mandate that yoga should be done weekly once. So we had yoga teachers who we could train them on a particular curriculum. But we primarily looked at how it can reduce stress, and due to which there could be metabolic benefits. And we, of course, looked at healthy eating habits and physical activity also. Main things we were looking at was stress and attention concentration. Next slide, please. Because we thought as adolescent kids, that's what they need. If they can improve their cognition through improved attention concentration, that would play a great role. So we trained the teachers in Delhi, these yoga teachers or biology teachers in each of these schools, and they would deliver the program with our team helping them. So you can see here the children doing a standardized curriculum of yoga, which we gave them. It was during that 35 to 40 minutes of their class. We had done a specific program which they were to do. Next one, please. So in this, what we found out in this study, it was very clear, obviously, yoga played a great role in reducing their stress. Look at that. So we did stress cortisol levels, as well as an ADOS is a stress scale that we've come up with. It's a validated scale. If anyone is doing a study on stress in adolescents, it's freely available to use it. And it's a very easy, simple scale to use, and it does assess stress very well. But we also did salivary cortisol. And if you see between the intervention and control schools, the children, look at the drop. In control, everything increased. In intervention, everything decreased. As I said, the focus was mainly stress and attention concentration, but we seen solid metabolic benefits. So the attention concentration obviously increased. Their LCT score is the letter cancellation test, which actually measures their cognition in a way through attention and concentration. What you need your child to be attentive, and if they concentrate, automatically their scores will, their schools, the marks they get, their scores will be good. So we were looking at that, and look at the difference. It was 19% in intervention versus 6% in controls. And then when we do a regression model, we also seen that a lot of metabolic benefits with blood pressure, weight, everything had kind of decreased. We don't give much importance in the adolescent age to weight because it always goes high and low. If they're starting at an obese weight, then of course you can look at the effect. But otherwise, these were children who were all around that normal category itself. So that's why we kept it as a secondary variable, but we did see a very great effect even on the metabolic variables. Next slide, please. So again, from all these points, what I'm trying to say is how the women and the girl are still at a disadvantage. Next slide. So what we thought is we needed to curate one intervention which worked for both. I've already shown this slide. So basically, we asked the same question to children, as we asked the women, we asked the girls too. And we found a very similar thing coming out from the girls, that they want an intervention which works well in terms of all these parameters. And yeah, please go on to the next slide. And that's how we came up with Tandav, which is an intervention that we curated, Dr. Anjana and myself, my colleague from here. And what Tandav stands for is taking HIT, that is high intensity interval training, and dance to adolescent girls and women for victory over non-communicable diseases. So next slide. Tell you more about Tandav. So if anyone who understands what HIT is high intensity interval training. So you can, when in a HIT component, you will have a few minutes high and then few seconds low. The idea is in your high, you're supposed to reach 80% of your max heart rate. And then in your low, you need to recover that well. So the low, you come down because obviously when you have maxed out to 80% of heart rate, you're already, puffing and huffing. How quickly you recover in that 30 seconds shows basically it's a sign of your cardiopulmonary fitness. And that's why HIT is so good. You can do it at a short period of time, but the metabolic benefits of HIT are just fantastic. So what we thought is HIT alone, you can do HIT on a treadmill. You can go on a treadmill. And please go back the previous slide. So you can go HIT on a treadmill where you can do 2 minutes high, put the speed of 8 and 9, and then come down to a speed of 4 and 5 for 30 seconds. That's also HIT. But think of doing that HIT versus this Tandav, which is HIT plus dance. What we do in Tandav is we combine dance in the form of HIT, where we take a 10-minute loop, which is the 2 minutes high and a 30-second low. And every 2 minutes is a song that you would have heard and you will be currently vibing to. Okay, so the 2 minutes high and 30-second low. So you have 4 songs in a 10-minute loop. And that exactly is what is Tandav. And why we got dance in? Yes, next slide, please. So the advantages of HIT and dance is what I tell you in this is high intensity training. It's not a focus. You want to just reduce your tummy. You can't do HIT. It's an overall fitness goal. It doesn't work on specific target areas, but overall. But it definitely improves flexibility, aerobic strength. Definitely, all of them play a great role because we've been doing this regularly now. Dance. Why dance? Because as I said, we thought the women and the adolescent girls are the ones we want to address. And in them, what we can do is it's a form of aerobic activity. It has proven cardiovascular health. It aids joint flexibility, muscular endurance. It's fantastic for mental well-being. And we were really coming from that space where, when you put music and you say dance, women, children, ladies, girls, they just start vibing. You don't need to be a dancer for it, but typically that's how, and it's more in an Indian and a South Asian culture where dance is something that just comes naturally to people. And therefore we were, tapping on that feel good factor. Everyone talks about happy hormones and endorphins. The moment you listen to music and you start vibing to it, you automatically start getting happy. You forget what's happening. And hence when we merge this together, it's a physical activity which is actually sustainable because it's short on time. it's mainly fun. It can be done at home, and it tick marks all those lists that I gave you previously. All that together, Tandav basically check marks it. Next. So when we do, since we come from a research organization, we didn't do anything just for fun. We actually tested this. This paper is published. So we did a pre-test of Tandav. So we had this idea, and then we first tested on ourselves. Both me and Anjana like to dance. So we started curating these steps along with the choreographer. And we went on and we applied to NIHR UK, and we got a small fund. We got a short funding for this, where we said, let's do this 3 loops. So 12 week is basically 3. Every month, 1 loop. Every weekend, we'll teach you a 2-minute. So by the end of the month, you've done the 10-minute, right? So that way, for 3 months, we taught these children in the school. We did it in an education, in a school setting. Next slide, please. So that we were coming to later. But before that, as a pre-test, we took 23 girls and we studied these one routine on them, took them to a lab in St. John's, Bangalore, Dr. Kurpat's lab, and we actually checked their VO2 max and whether their heart rate is reaching the max heart rate. And lo and behold, we found that all of them, next slide, please, all of them not just reach 80% of their heart rate. If you see this graph, if you follow it, they were reaching 100% of their heart rate because they were children, they were adolescents. Look at their age, 13, around an average 14 years. Their weight was also kind of in the 48, 49, 50 range. And their BMI was absolutely normal. So when we taught them this dance, they were flying. So they started reaching 100% of their max rate. So if you look at energy expenditure using heart rate, and we call that METs, metabolic equivalence, this was actually falling not just in moderate, even in vigorous activity, which we were not expecting. We just wanted to put up curate something which will help them dance. That's all. Prashanta says slides are not visible. Is it for everyone? I can see it.
Yeah, it's visible. I can also see.
You can see it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Visible.
Yeah. So with this basis, we went on to the final study, which paper has just got accepted in Journal of Diabetes, Science and Technology, is we evaluated Tandav finally in a school setting in 2 schools in Chennai. One was an intervention school, one was a control school. They were girls' school, they were convent schools because we wanted only girls. And the idea of doing this test in 2 is it's not about just teaching Tandav. When you want to do something like this in a school setting, it's very difficult. We are taking over their time, right? So you need the principal's buy-in and admin's buy-in, the teacher's buy-in, the parents' buy-in, and then the children's buy-in. Because children actually come last. There are so many people's permission that we need to take because to organize this something on a weekly basis required a lot of planning and strategizing. Next one, please. And even this, towards the end, we had to make it hybrid because suddenly they wanted the Tandav classes time that they were giving us. They wanted to do something else. So the last month of the intervention, we actually had to teach them online. So this is a typical screening camp that we would do in a school. And then we're teaching them. If you see, after the last class, they would change and come for this. Next slide. So if you look at the impact of Tandav, look at their heart rates increasing, their step counts increasing in the intervention versus control. Next slide. And again, as I said, weight, we wouldn't see a big change, but there would be more changes in blood pressure, in waist circumference, definitely kind of marginal changes there. And then we see next slide, new changes in their lifestyle. So body fat, so we used the body fat machine to measure them. And in that, we could see how skeletal mass increased, the leisure time. I remember that's what we talk about, how the leisure time physical activity increased and automatically sedentary time decreased. And of course, stress, again, ADOS scores gave us fantastic results. They all reported a lot of happiness and well-being after Tandav. We did, again, next slide, we did qualitative studies on them too. And we got personal experience where people have said, the mothers came and thanked. The mothers joined the classes. They were so happy with the child doing that, there were specific people who lost weight, their PCOS. A lot of these kids had just started their periods or were having irregular periods. So the PCOS reversed. And these are things that we caught from, the qualitative work. So this is all come out in a paper that we just published, the qualitative experiences and how they liked it and how it reduced stress. It helped them concentrate better, helped them study better and things like that. They in fact wanted it to continue, but the school did not. Yeah, next. You can click again, I guess. So if you remember the points that I had said, the novelty of this project was mainly about incorporating HIIT into dance. A lot of people ask us how different it is from a Zumba or a dance aerobics. It's absolutely different. You have to do Zumba dance aerobics for 45 to 50 minutes, and HIIT does not happen for, if you're doing 45 to 50 minutes, it cannot be high intensity interval training. You can't sustain. In HIIT means it has to be short. So that's how we thought the idea of intermerging it, integrating it into dance was a big one. Then we realized we focused on women and girls, and we seen that's where it's going to work the best. Then the time it can be done. Of course, we're looking at how it can be a technology aided solution now. We're trying to come up with an app and things like that where, people can do it at home. But right now, we're definitely, we're seeing the cardiovascular health benefits and NCD prevention, definitely. Next one. So this is a lot of dissemination that we have been doing. These are just few examples that we have given you, but we are currently covered more than 12,000 women and girls all around, not just in Chennai, but India. We do in a lot of conferences and corporates. I was telling Vasha, anytime I come on, face to face, I would love to do this for you all in Goa. You guys will enjoy this. And we have now developed 6 loops. So 6 loops is one loop has 4 songs. So 6 4s are 24 songs we have ready with us, which we have been teaching at different places. Tomorrow, in fact, I'm going to TCS to deliver Tanda with the talk. And so we would love you guys will really, this talk is more, it ends well, and the best is if I could do the workshop with you all after this, you'll have a ball, I can assure you. But before that, I guess, because my thing is not working, I can't show you the teaser right now, but it's all there. If you just go look up Tanda teaser, I'll tell you where you can see it. Next slide, please. Go to the last slide. What I can urge you all is to join the movement. Please come and experience it yourself. We have these classes happening every Friday. Okay, so we have offline sessions, which is happening, that's in person in my auditorium here in Chennai from 5:15 to 6:15 on a Friday. But we have online sessions, which happen from 6:30 to 7:30 every Friday. What you need to do for that is just simple. Just go to tandav.in and register yourself. That email comes to me. Then I will send you the details. Once you're serious, you're registered. So just remember the time is 6:30 to 7:30 on a Friday. Registering, you can go check that website that has all our Tanda workshops and places that we have disseminated it. There are a lot of pictures and videos of Anjana and myself dancing, where we have gone and demonstrated this in various places. And then we have a lot of us on social media like Insta and Facebook and things like that also. So you can go first, see for yourself, see if you like it. And I would really welcome and urge each of the woman, girl, whoever's there, your family, please include your children, and I would request all of you to register and join in and enjoy Tandem. And then I would love to come and present someday to you all, definitely. So I think with that, with all the difficulties, I managed to finish. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Ma'am is still there. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Anyone wants to ask the question? Does anyone have the question?
It was very clear. Any other question related to physical activity or anything also, feel free, please. Sure, Prashanta. Happy to come and present.
Ranjani, hi. I had a question for you.
Cheryl, tell me.
Yes. We often look at physical activity, and today everybody is talking about these step. One minute. Okay. Everybody is talking about reaching 10,000 steps per day. In your opinion, as a researcher and as a promoter of Tanda, how does that fit into, the concept of physical activity?
Good question, Cheryl. So I'll tell you why that 10,000 step number came in also. There's a lot of research done, and now the latest numbers, by the way, I don't want to reduce it because 10,000 still seems, at least then you'll read somewhere when I say 10,000, but right now we are showing metabolic benefits even with 7,000. But what the main thing with step count is, I feel it's a very nice objective measurement. Not everyone can afford accelerometries, but if you can start aiming for just understanding what step count is, and you wear, say, a tracker or a Fitbit or nothing, even you carry your phone, and you end of your day, your phone is saying 500 steps. You should know you've been really sad. You've done nothing. You're basically just sat on your couch the whole day. But if it's showing 2,000, it's showing 5,000, it's showing 6,000, and we all know, anyone who exercises, who works out, it is not easy to get 10,000 steps. It is just not easy. You work out for 1 hour, and if you sit the whole day, you will not reach 10,000 steps. That's a guarantee. So you have to understand it is a combination of physical activity with what you do during the remaining time of your day. So if you do Tandav, obviously it's only for 10 minutes, but the jumping and the thing is so much that you will reach easily 3,000 steps if you're doing it properly, Tandav, with the workout and things. Depends on how much you're moving. But if the rest of the day I'm going to sit, even that benefit of Tandav is gone. So we need to see that we are moving, and that's why I personally like step count as a good meter, not to stress yourself out. There are people who get obsessed and say I have to reach 10,000 steps a day. It's not needed. Just use it as, an indicator to see whether you're moving during the day. And each one has a mark. You can do 4,000, do 5,000, do 6,000, do 7,000. There are people who do 10,000. I'm not saying no, but that's to each his own. So that's why step count, don't, get stuck on it. But I think it's a great indicator to, if you're serious about movement and you're serious about physical activity, it's a great indicator to have. And of course, we can always question, each one has, if anyone who has used a phone or a pedometer, also basic. If you go on the bike, you can get 2,000 step counts. So you have to understand where these step counts are coming from. You can fool around it always. So that's the thing.
Thank you, Ranjani.
So, Ranjani, is it the speed and the distance that matters for a crucial, or overall fitness program?
Movement matters, Varsha. Just move. That's all. There's no fit. There is no speed. There's no, just, we need to move our body. So simple things like yoga. Now, a lot of people have changed the meaning of yoga, and people say people abroad do more yoga than Indians. But what yoga people abroad do is not the traditional yoga. They're doing power yoga. They have gone and mixed exercise to yoga and done aerobic yoga. Yoga is an aerobic activity, but it's more about balance. It's about a mind-body connect. If you're not getting your breathing right, no point of doing yoga. If you're going to go like that and do stretching, that's not yoga at all. Yoga is all about meditation. It needs to have that pranayama thing inside. You need to get that breathing right first before you do anything. And of course, yoga has its sets of flexibility. Hatha yoga does all kind of flexibility exercises, which is very similar to what you do in an aerobic setup also. Something like a Tabata or circuits, also we do similar exercises. But what is the difference is what I always emphasize is, circuits and things that you do as part of aerobic exercises or even some kind of resistance training, it's more about speed. There it's about speed. It's about the number, how fast you do. You do 30 seconds, 10 counts, 40. But in yoga, it's about balance. You do 10, but do it properly. Do it with, a hold. The balance is very, very important in yoga. The hold is very important. If you're not doing that, then your breathing will also not set properly. So each one, you can do a combination, get them all together and then do it together properly. But don't mix it up and say, I'm doing, things and things like that. So just work out. I think the most important is people do 1 hour of something every day, which involves some movement. Play a sport. There are so many, 40 plus, 35 plus people who are moving to badminton and picket ball and tennis and lots of things. But just see that you're active. That's the main thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, people. I think it's already 4:45 and over came. Thank you for joining in. I hope it was useful.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. It was very insightful session, and we have given overall view that recent studies also regarding the barriers of exercise as well as overall recommendations also we have shown.
Sure.
Now I request Ma'am Cheryl Efenso, NSI Secretary of NSI Goa chapter, to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Suman. And thank you so much, Ranjani, for being with us this evening, despite all the technical glitches, which has never happened with any other sessions.
Yeah.
It is always the first time, unfortunately. Ranjani has been a dear classmate when I was doing my postgraduate studies in Bombay, and it's a matter of pride to see where she's gone over the last few decades. So I'm making changes in the research scene of India and of course internationally too, as was very evident from the presentation that she just showed and shared with us. I'd like to begin with the catchphrase that she used, sitting is the new smoking. We've been sitting here, I think, for a little more than 1 hour.
Yeah.
And so it's time for us, I guess, to do some little Tanda movements after this.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Ranjani, for being with us. One key focus that I would like to point out here is how you spoke about abdominal obesity versus generalized obesity. We have been speaking about BMI as an indicator of fitness. We've also come up with waist to hip ratio, and we generally look at abdominal obesity in terms of males, but yes, it's very important for us to realize that abdominal obesity across genders is a very important indicator, especially, I guess, among children today, considering their more sedentary lifestyle. Leisure time physical activity is something else that you spoke to us about, and that's something that we have to keep in mind. And I really do hope that your organization is able to, with the help of all the research that you all are doing, to come up with policy changes for India so that we can really reverse this health issues that we are beginning to see increasing in our country. Thank you so much, Ranjani, for being with us this evening on behalf of Harsha, who is the convener of the NSI Goa, and everybody else who is on the team and the attendees here this evening. Thank you so much for spending the last 1 year with us.
Thank you, guys. Nice meeting up with both of you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Ranjani. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cheryl and Suman.
Yeah.
Prashanta as well. Thank you, Gauravi.